You're watching a 360 video. On a phone, drag the picture with one finger or turn the phone itself. On a computer, click and drag with your mouse. In a VR headset, simply turn your head. Do not keep your eyes locked on the center. Some of the most important paintings are overhead. I will prompt you to look left, right, or up. If you have already moved the view, find your bearings by the staircase, tapestries, chandeliers, or other landmarks. First, bring the view straight ahead and center it on the main staircase. The palace stands on the site of the old Alcazar. On Christmas Eve in 1734, a fire destroyed that earlier royal residence, and Philip V ordered a new palace. He was Louis XIV's grandson and was born at Versailles, so Madrid and Versailles share a direct Bourbon family connection. But Madrid is not a copy of Versailles. Versailles grew from a hunting lodge, expanding through the 17th century into a broad composition tied to its gardens. Madrid was planned anew in the 18th century. Juvara proposed the design, and Sacchetti completed it on the old site as a tighter, more compact square plan. By interior floor area, Madrid covers about 135,000 square meters, with 3,418 rooms. Versailles covers about 63,000 square meters and has roughly 2,300 rooms. Madrid's building is larger. Versailles estate is vastly larger. Now look up. Sabatini finalized this main staircase of more than 70 steps. Above it, Giaquinto painted Religion Protected by Spain. Stone columns and balustrades guide visitors to the principal floor. Upstairs, we enter the Hall of Halberdiers. First, look up at the ceiling. Tiepolo shows Venus ordering Vulcan to forge weapons for Aeneas. Classical myth is doing more than decorating the room. It links military power, dynastic legitimacy, and the story of a hero. The hall was originally imagined as a ballroom. Under Charles III, Sabatini adapted it for the royal guard. Turn slowly through a full circle. Tapestries, chandeliers, and Antonio Lopez's royal family portrait all share this one ceremonial space. Now look down at the red and white geometric stone floor. Its pattern helps organize the route through the room. At Versailles, the king's state apartment builds a continuous symbolic program around the sun god and the planets. Madrid works differently. A sequence of more self-contained halls leads you inward, one stage at a time, through the protocol of a royal audience. Next, the Hall of Columns. Look left at the tapestries. Turn right toward the bronze sculpture. Look up at Giaquinto's sun awakening nature. Court balls happened here. In 1985, Spain signed its European Community accession documents in this room. Versailles' 73-meter Hall of Mirrors has 17 garden windows facing 17 mirrored arches, emphasizing horizontal sweep, reflection, and the gardens beyond. Madrid's Hall of Columns is enclosed and vertical. Its solemn effect comes mainly from the colonnades, tapestries, and ceiling painting. From here, we enter the apartments of Charles III. Keep checking every surface. Look up, then look down. Walls, ceiling paintings, door frames, mirrors, furniture, and floors were composed as one complete interior. In the Gasparini room, the wall decoration and floor pattern answer each other with exceptional precision. The result feels less like a collection of objects than a carefully staged environment. Nothing is isolated. Each surface reinforces the status and purpose of the room. Mengs painted classical allegories based on Trajan and Hercules for these rooms. On the walls, you can also find Goya's portraits of Charles IV and Queen Maria Luisa. Turn left, then look behind you. Notice how the doorways line up room after room. This long view, called an enfilade, made ceremonial movement easy while also showing exactly who was permitted to enter the more private rooms. The contrast with Versailles is easy to see. Versailles state apartments revolve mainly around Louis XIV and the unified image of the Sun King. Madrid's interiors accumulated over several reigns. Charles III, Charles IV, Ferdinand VII, and Alfonso XII. As you pass from one room to the next, colors, furniture, and styles keep changing. Instead of presenting one ruler's single visual program, the palace reads as layers of royal history, each period revising what came before. We now move into rooms dressed in deep blue and blue-green. Look left at the royal portraits. Then look up to the clouds and illusionistic architecture. Baroque design favors movement and theatrical drama. Rococo adds flowers, curves, and lighter touches of gold. Neoclassicism brings back symmetry and subjects from the ancient world. Here, all three visual languages sit almost side by side. As a piano teacher, I hear the aligned doorways like a recurring theme and each change of color like a modulation. That is only a light analogy. Architecturally, these shifts tell us where we are going. The route moves from public halls into reception rooms, living spaces, and increasingly private quarters. The building is still the official palace of Spain's royal family. It is used mainly for state banquets and national ceremonies, not as their everyday home. Versailles followed a different path. After the French Revolution in 1789, it ceased to be a royal residence. In 1837, it opened as a museum of French history. So although both palaces share Bourbon history and now welcome visitors, their institutional roles today are not the same. Ahead is the Porcelain Room. Turn right, then look up into the corners. Vines, fruit, human figures, and imaginary animals are assembled from porcelain panels made by the Royal Bune-Retiro Porcelain Factory, founded by Charles III. The mirror frames, door frames, walls, and floor curves merge into one design. Versailles Hall of Mirrors enlarges space through reflections and distant views. This small room does the opposite. Dense porcelain relief wraps around you. It is one of the most distinctive achievements of Spanish royal decoration. As we leave, we briefly cross adjoining rooms. Notice floral walls, curtains, and inlaid floors. We enter the state dining room. Follow the long table to its far end. Then look up at the three ceiling sections. This was once 3 rooms in the Queen's apartments. Alfonso XII ordered them joined in 1879. Work ended in 1885. Unlike Versailles' public grand couvert, Madrid's dedicated state dining room was a 19th century conversion. Leaving the state dining room, we first pass the orchestra room, where musicians performed during banquets. Then we enter the gallery of glass and porcelain. Turn slowly to take in the display cases around you. The cases hold royal glassware, table services, and porcelain. The makers represent several of Europe's most celebrated factories, including Meissen in Germany, Sèvres in France, and Berlin's KPM. This sequence hints at palace service behind the spectacle. Music accompanied the meal, while prize dining and display objects stayed close at hand. Next, the royal chapel. Look from the altar up to Giaquinto's dome fresco. From a Seventh-day Adventist perspective, faith is not measured by courtly rank or ceremony alone. Next, the Crown Room. Look at the red display. It holds Charles III's crown, a mid-17th century scepter, and an Order of the Golden Fleece collar. Also displayed are the organic law enacting Juan Carlos I's abdication and Philip VI's signed accession speech. Look into the cases on both sides. The decorated string quartet has 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. There is also 1 undecorated solo cello. Finally, the throne room. Above the red velvet, look up to Tiepolo's grand ceiling fresco.